This video is brought to you by one of the best sources on the internet for news and information, and that would be patriotpost.us. A link for them is in the description box, so when you head on over there, check them out and subscribe. Tell them I sent you. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Joe Biden trying to explain the reason why his administration, you know, when he was the vice president with the president, Barack Obama, for 8 years, why his administration had the kids in quote unquote cages on the southern border between the U.S. and Mexico. Now, this explanation was hilarious at best, and there's a whole lot I want to get through in this particular clip after we watch it. So let's go ahead and roll it. In this clip, you'll see the quote-unquote journalist Jorge Ramos ask Joe Biden some very pointed questions about the kids in cages. You'll see Joe Biden's response. After we get done with that, I'll talk about what was said there. I'll give you my 2 cents, my analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
At the debate in Houston, you said that during the Obama-Biden administration, and I quote, "We didn't lock people in cages." But you actually did. Well, not in the same numbers as in the Trump administration, but you did. We found a picture of an 8-year-old boy from Honduras.
Yes. And what this was,
taken
you know,
in 2014 in a detention center in McAllen, Texas. I spoke with the
yes.
photographer.
And what happened
John
was
Moore.
all the unaccompanied children were coming across the border. We tried to get them out. We kept them safe and get them out of the detention centers, that essentially that center, that were run by Homeland Security, and get them into communities as quickly as we can.
Many people would say there were cages. I mean,
well, look, I mean, you know you're not telling the truth here about the comparison of the two things.
I'm saying that the numbers in your administration were not the same as the ones we're seeing right now with the Trump
administration. Well, beyond
administration.
that, but look how quickly we got them out and got them back to families. Look how we didn't engage, and we sought the relatives here. We sought to get them into safe communities. We sought to get them out of the control of Homeland Security, to get them safe, but they came unaccompanied. Unaccompanied. And by the way, one of the things we should be doing, and you may recall I'm the only guy that got it done, was to provide for $750 million so people didn't want to leave in the first place, by going down to Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador and making sure that we, in fact, change the circumstances which is causing them to flee to begin with. You may remember I spent hundreds of... Well, no, they didn't. They dropped off extensively.
And then there was another wave of Central American immigrants coming.
Yeah, and what happened? Because they stopped funding it. This administration 3 years ago stopped spending the money.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, this was hilarious. One of the funniest things I've seen in a very long time. Let's start from the beginning. There was pictures being circulated that were attributed to Trump that were not under Trump's administration. They were under the Obama administration, and I'll play some of those on the screen before you. You got kids in the quote-unquote cages, wearing these little tin-foil-looking blankets, all this, that, and the third. People said, how can Trump do this? He has these kids in inhumane conditions. He is the worst. He hates brown people. But these are from 2014 under Obama and under Joe Biden. So when Jorge Ramos asked him about the quote-unquote kids in cages, it's a logical question to ask. I'm surprised he asked it, because the mainstream media, by and large, from what I've been able to see, and if I'm wrong, you guys let me know in the comments below, they want to just ignore the whole situation. They want to just say, oh, Trump is racist. He hates brown people. He hates people that come from Mexico. He wants to put them in cages, breaking apart families. That's the general narrative. Nobody ever really says in the mainstream media, hey, Obama did that. You know, these quote unquote cages and the facilities, these were built by Obama and or maintained by Obama. How are you going to blame Trump for a thing that was already existing before he became the president? Before he even decided to run, these things were already in existence. Furthermore, Barack Obama was known as the chief deporter. Okay. He deported quite a few people that came through the southern border to the United States. That's a fact. He also imported more, but he deported more as well. So this whole thing about Barack Obama being some kind of, freedom fighter for the brown person, I can't really tell. Maybe in certain respects, but as far as deportation and detention, not so much, but I digress. Joe Biden here, elephant in the room before I get to what he said, he looks terrible. He looks awful. I mean, I know he's an older man, but at a certain point, it's like, okay, where are his friends and family, advisors, people on his campaign saying, all right, sir, you gave it the old college try. You gave it your best shot, but it's just not working. You're coming in number 4 and 5 in the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary, respectively. You should go ahead and drop out. Call it a wrap right now. You don't want to embarrass yourself anymore on the campaign trail. And I'm sure Obama does not want to see Biden out there ruining his quote unquote legacy, but that's a different story, and I digress. The point is that he does not look very good out there on the campaign trail, and he looked just as bad speaking to Jorge Ramos, kind of confused about how to answer questions, not really know if he's coming or going. And this interview appears to have been edited, so they edited the footage to make things go smoothly, and he still looked very bad. And the answers he was given didn't make any sense. Oh, we did it to keep him safe? Okay, so if you put the kids in cages to keep them safe, then why is what Trump did bad? Isn't it for the same reason? If they're coming across the border unaccompanied, they're breaking the law because they're coming across the border unaccompanied and they don't have any kind of documentation. They're not legal immigrants. Then why is it bad for Trump to put him in detention, but not for you? And then he says, oh, we try to get him out to the family as soon as possible. Yeah, that's the whole point of a detention center. Okay, you're not going to be there forever. You're going to be there for a short period of time. Just like when you are in school and you get put in detention, you're not going to be in detention forever. You're going to be in there for a period of time, and then you get released to wherever you got to go, whether it's into the interior of the country, which shouldn't happen, but that's a different story, or if it's back to your country of origin. Or if it's to the penitentiary because you are a violent criminal that can be proven, as far as being in a crime. Usually what happens is you get sent into the country or out. That's it. That's the whole point of a detention center. And have kids separated from their parents makes sense because if an adult in America gets charged with a crime, which is what coming across the border illegally is a crime, if an adult gets charged with a crime here in America as a citizen, they can't bring their whole family to the penitentiary with them. They have to go to the penitentiary by themselves. Well, they won't be totally alone. They'll have their cellmates and whatnot, but they can't bring their family with them. They'll go to whatever jail is appropriate for them, juvenile detention or whatever the case may be. If they're adults, they go to the adult jail. That's how that works. You don't get locked up together. That's not really how that works. But I'll move on. The point is that Joe Biden was really jumping through a bunch of hoops to try and defend his administration's policy, as are many on the left in general. Okay, I saw the whole thing about Mike Bloomberg came out speaking about stop and frisk and some things that a lot of leftists do not like. And then some of the campaign for Mike Bloomberg was talking about, oh, well, at least we're not Trump. That's all you got, as best you got. So the whole stop and frisk thing, the whole thing about minorities committing most of the crime, these are things on the left that you say are racist, unacceptable, disqualifying for anybody on the right. But when a guy on the left says it, it's totally fine. This is the hypocrisy that I found to be very amusing. The mainstream media, they engage in it every day. Trump can do anything. He can sneeze, cough at the wrong time. They'll try to make a big mountain out of the molehill. But if Joe Biden gets money from Ukraine and China in an illegitimate way or a somewhat questionable way, they'll try to ignore it as much as possible. They'll act like it didn't really happen, like it didn't really exist. Matter of fact, if I were to go onto their networks and bring it up, I'm accused of trying to obfuscate the things that Trump has done. Okay, by pointing out an obvious thing that the Bidens have done, or at least are involved with, I'm accused of trying to obfuscate reality as it relates to Trump doing things very bad. This is what the mainstream media does. So this is why I got to give a little hat tip to Jorge Ramos here as being part of the left, the extremist media calling Joe Biden and the Obama administration out. These so-called cages were already right there before Trump came into office. So were these blankets. So was the practice of quote unquote family separation that already existed. And it's not inhumane. Really, it's actually better that kids do not get housed with adults in the detention center. Okay. Like if you have a regular men's jail in America, right? Are you going to put little kids in there with them? Like 8, 9-year-olds? That's just very dangerous. It would be the equivalent of putting women into the men's jail, which is a different story because then you get the so-called transgender people being housed with women and vice versa. But I'll move on away from that. My general thing here is I want to see the hypocrisy go away. If it's okay for Biden to do it, if it's okay for Obama to do it, then it must be okay for Trump to do it. Let's not have double standards. But then again, I know it's the left, and without double standards, they will have no standards. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Jorge Ramos did a good job by asking Joe Biden some very pointed questions? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or do you think the media have a long way to go to make up for what they have been doing as it relates to the hypocrisy? You know, the left can do whatever they want and it's fine. If the right so much as sneezes or coughs, it's the end of the world and they all need to get impeached. You're going to have 1,000 people talking about Bill Barr should get removed from office, but Joe Biden getting money from China, getting money from Ukraine, as well as his son Hunter, that's no real big deal. I want to see things get caught evenly, not so much bias. And if you are biased, just come out and say it. Let's say we're CNN, we are a leftist organization. If you come out there and say that, that's fine. I think Fox News says it. It's like, well, we are conservative, we are right-leaning. That's fine. Let's have every network say that. And when it comes to just reporting facts, let's not try to smudge things. Let's not try to spin things to the point where it's a different story. Let's report the facts as the facts and let the regular people at home deal with it however they want to deal with it. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.